Good morning, guys. It's a beautiful morning, and this is going to be part 5 of the garage shop build, basically picking up right where we left off. You can see the forms behind me here. First thing that's going to happen is later today, I got the sun right in my eyes. Later today, or in a couple of hours actually, I'm getting another delivery of rock, and that is going to be used to raise this middle section up about 8 inches, because the ideal here is to have basically a 12 by 12 space around the perimeter. That's going to be the footer, that's where the rebar is going to go, but the middle needs to be raised up about 8 inches so that I'll have about a 4-inch slab, 4 to 5 inch. So I'm going to raise it 7 to 8 inches. Yeah. So that's what's going to happen in this video. It's going to be setting the rest of the forms, getting the rock leveled out, compressed, getting the rebar in place, and getting everything ready for pour day, which will be coming up in just over 2 weeks, I think, June 8th. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. All right, so Jim is here, getting ready to dump this load of rock. I had to pull that front little 10-foot piece off over there just so he could back in, because it's kind of tight coming around this corner for the big dump trucks, and it's on ultra wide mode. There it goes. I sure hope this is enough. Oh, yeah, that looks like more. There we go. Nice. Now I'm gonna have to spread this all over. How's everything look, Jerry? Good? Okay. Hi, Skull. All right, so that is delivered. Now I'm going to have to spread that by hand across this whole thing. It's basically going to be just the center fill, but now that I have this in place, I can kind of get my edges defined and then the footers defined, and then I can start putting in the rebar. Yeah, I had to pull this off because, as you can see by the tire tracks right there, he couldn't get around the corner quite enough to go center, but that's close enough. I mean, it all has to be spread around anyway. So something else that I wanted to talk about, as far as the farm. Last weekend we went to Kona on a Costco run, and while we were there, Jenny jumped the fence. So, the chickens and turkeys have their little run. Jenny jumps the fence because she likes to come out here and eat the grass and stuff. And Luna killed her, and then all the dogs ate her. Pretty sad. I mean, it's, we were in Kona. There was nothing that we could do. Like I saw on the security camera. So because of that, we no longer have Luna. That was her 3rd strike. She had already attacked the chickens 2 different times. And I saw on the video footage it was her. So we ended up giving her to another family here in the neighborhood. They don't have any chickens, so that's good. And she was just, you know, she was just way too spastic, I guess. She was like, you know, puppy energy all the time. She was only about 9 months old, so yeah, so we don't have Jenny anymore. And also her eggs, the eggs that did hatch, the chicks or baby turkeys ended up dying. Apparently baby turkeys are really difficult to hatch, which I didn't know any of this going into that. Whether we continue with turkeys or not, I'm not sure. We still have Jerry, of course. You know, eventually down the road, once we start getting the paddock in the back built, then the turkeys are going to move back there. And then hopefully they won't be anywhere close to where the dogs are. Skull and Hati, though, are pretty good. They don't really mess with the chickens much anymore. You know, Skull originally, he did kill one chicken. I'm pretty sure it was him because that was before we had Luna. But since then, he hasn't really. It was only when the chickens were chicks, you know, when they were still pullets and real small. And they were real skittish. The chickens now, they don't run away from the dogs. They don't flinch from the dogs. Sometimes they even peck at the dogs, you know, if they get too close. So, yeah, and Luna, I just couldn't take the chance of her killing more chickens, you know, so it's all for the best. Whether or not we get more dogs down the road, I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, back to building. All right, so I have all the rebar relocated over here. It was along the fence here, and I moved it because with trucks backing in and out, like, it was right in the path of their tire. So it's all over here, and it's going to just start going in. I have this board all the way in now, right now. All the way in now, right now. Yeah, that sounds good. So there's a joint right here, and then on the back side there's a joint right there, because these were 20-foot 2x12s. So 10 foot, and then this one was actually at 19 feet. That one back there is at 20. Because originally I was going to try to do my shop 30 foot by 20 foot, but because it was so close on this side, I decided to take it down to 28 feet by 20 foot. And then that way it's also, you know, a multiple of 4. So how most things are sold is, you know, multiples of 4. So 4x8 sheets and whatnot. So this is in, the rock is delivered. All the corners are pinned, and this is all leveled and squared. So basically what I need to do now is I need to go in and put stakes probably about every foot or so along here. And to help me do that, I have this string line attached. So basically what you do is you screw in a 2x4, could be whatever size 2x4 you have. Into the inside, you run your string line so that it's tight on the outside. You do the same thing on this end, pull your string tight, and then when you're getting ready to drive in your stakes, so I'm going to start in the middle here, you take another 2x4 piece, and let me see if I can do this without dropping the camera. So you basically have your 2x4 piece, if you can see that. So you see that's a little bit over a 1/4 inch out. So what I would need to do is I need to move the board in till it lines up and then drive a stake in. So I'll start in the middle and then I'll work my way both directions until I have stakes on all of these spots. And like I said, basically about every foot or so I'm going to be putting a stake in. And then about every other foot I'll be putting a kicker in. So the kicker is the 45-degree stake, then the standard stake is just going straight in. This is going to be difficult because I'm on top of lava. This side in particular is going to be hard because this is all just a solid rock wall. So I will try to get them in as much as I can. But really, as long as it's pinned against the rock and then screwed in, that's all I really need to worry about, because I'm not worried about the board coming in this way. I'm worried about it going out that way, you know, to make sure that I don't have any blowouts, you know, once the concrete is poured in here. So that's what I'm going to be working on now. I will have to start spreading this pile out soon. And what I'm gonna do for that is I'm going to go and get a couple, probably 10-foot 2x8s, and then I'm going to put 12-inch blocks on them. So basically, I can take the 2x8, I can butt it up against these 2x12s, and that'll give me my 12 inches where my footer is going to be. And then I can spread this rock out up against that 2x8, pack it down a little bit, and then remove the 2x8. And then basically I'll just do that all the way around until I get this whole pile spread out and to where it's about 8 inches up off of the current gravel. So that'll give me 4-inch slab in the center. I may end up actually doing it about 6 to 7 inches. That way it'll give me a 5-inch slab, because since I shortened my slab over here by 2 feet, I'm going to have some extra, so I may just end up doing a 5-inch slab in the center just for extra strength. I know it's probably overkill, but I am going to have some, you know, heavy equipment in here, and the power hammer is going to end up having to have its own little pad poured. So the power hammer is going to end up going over here. So there's going to be a room, an 8-foot by 10-foot room basically, over here. That's going to end up being my grinding room. On the other side of that wall is going to be the power hammer, forge, and then the press will be over here. And then this will be the garage door. There will be a short wall here, probably 2 feet or less. Same 2 feet or less here. There will be a doorway, then wall, brick wall will come up here 4 feet high, go to that corner, and then back out here 18 feet roughly. All right, so going over the rebar, I have 2 different sizes here. I have number 4, which is 1/2 inch, and then I have number 3, which is 3/8. So the number 4 is going to run in 2 lines all the way around the perimeter of the whole garage. So that'll be the footer. So they'll be approximately 10 inches apart, 2 lines all the way around, bending at the corners, you know, and then they're going to overlap by 2 feet. So every time I go to a new piece of rebar, it will overlap 2 feet, get tied together. Then the number 3, which is the 3/8, that's going to get cut into like 10-inch sections, and then that's going to go between the 2 number 4 rebars, if that makes sense. And it's going to go about every, I'm probably going to put it every foot. I think really you only need to do it about every 2 feet, and it's going to look pretty much kind of like train tracks, or a ladder, I guess would be probably more appropriate, since train tracks have the, you know, the railroad ties underneath, but same thing. So that's what all of these pieces are. A lot of this number 4 is going to end up getting used after the slab is poured. I'm going to be drilling and anchoring, so that there will be rebar inside of the brick wall. I was going to actually form it up, but it's going to make it even more difficult to pour and finish the slab. So for my purposes, drilling a hole and using, you know, concrete anchoring glue, I guess, I'm not sure what it's called, adhesive, to put the rebar in, and then I can also put it in exactly the spots where I want to, so that it's spaced out between the bricks as they go together. And then that'll go, you know, everywhere where there's going to be bricks at, all the way around. So that's $80 worth of lumber. That's 2 10-foot 2x4s and 2 10-foot 2x8s. Awesome. All right, so this side is done. As you saw in the time lapse, I went through, I put in a stake, which is the one that's straight up and down every 2 feet. And then a kicker, which is the one that's at the 45, is every 4 feet. So this side is completely done. It's lined up, everything is straight off of the string line. So now what I need to do is basically move this string line to each of the other 4 sides and then do the same thing and get everything staked. All right, well, I have all the stakes and all the kickers in all the way around. Whew, man, pounding stakes into concrete is not fun, or into lava rocks, I guess I should say, not concrete. Excuse me. So this step is done. Ideally, you know, it would be better if these were down, because when we do the screeding, that's going to be in the way, but it's not too bad. Most of them I got pretty far down. This side here was the hardest because it's right up against a rock wall, so we'll just have to work around those. But all the sides are done now, all the way around. So the next thing I'm going to do is bring some more rock in here to kind of fill in these little spots. So you see how there's a hole right there, and then right here there's a pretty big hole too. So I'm going to grab some more of the rock that's out here by my FJ and fill in these spots to make sure everything's level for that 12-inch footer area. And then once that's done, I'm going to start spreading this out. That's what I got the 2x8s for. So basically I'm going to build a little frame. So I'll take a 2x8, I'll cut some basically like 11-inch pieces, or I guess it'd be 10.5, so that I have 12 inches of space. So a 10.5-inch cross piece that I will screw into the 2x8, so it can go right against these, and then I can shovel the rock right up to it, tamp it down, and then just work my way around and then level this pile out and hope that I have enough rock. I guess we'll see. All right, so I'm getting a delivery from Home Depot right now. This is going to be all the bricks that are going to be used for the, I guess, the stem wall, the 4-foot wall that's going to go around half of the shop. Pallet of concrete. This is going to be used for other jobs, and some will be used for filling, you know, some of these blocks on the smaller sections. I also ordered a pallet of the retaining wall blocks, which are the ones, you know, for here, because I'm going to need to raise that up. But they were out of stock on those, so I guess those are going to get delivered at another time. And these are 8-inch tall, 6-inch wide, 16 inches long. So since I'm doing 2x6 walls, I'm using 2x6 blocks. The 8-inch by 8-inch blocks would have just been big, and then also they're like $1 more per block. So saved a little bit of money going this route, and it's essentially the same thing, concrete wall. So the guy's got 2 more pallets. He had to reposition the truck, I guess. And looks like he has some other deliveries there, because all that stuff, not all that stuff is mine, just the bricks or the blocks. Yeah, some more stuff. Cool. All right, I have this built up, basically just a support for me to shovel the rock against. I'm going to start in this corner, and then I'll basically just work my way around. But then if you put that on there, that's just about 12 inches. You know, once the rock starts going against it, it'll get tighter. And then I'll pack this down a little bit. Once I get this whole thing flat, though, I'm going to have a compactor, and I'll go over the whole thing. So basically what this is going to do is it's going to put the middle gravel about 4 to 5 inches below the lip on this side. So that way, this is going to be my footer. This is where I'll put the rebar and everything. And then I'll have gravel come up, and then the concrete's going to pour over the whole thing. Yeah, lots of shoveling now. Man, really wish Taylor was here with his excavator. This is going to be a lot of work. So I won't really be showing any more of that, but yeah. And it's really hot today. My entourage. All right, so I've been working for several hours now. This is slow going. As you can see, I pulled the braces off of this corner. I moved them over to this corner. So this end is pretty much done. You can see when I pull the braces out, it's kind of hard to, I guess, see the rock. It's not really focusing, but it did fall a little bit, which is fine because this is supposed to have actually like a 45 on it. So if some of it falls, it's fine. It'll just make it that much stronger where the concrete fills in. So this is done up to this point. So I will keep continuing. Getting even more rock delivered. What are you doing over there, Jerry? So, as you can see, that first load was not even enough to fill the forms. So it was a really good thing that I was able to get a second load delivered. Jim, the guy that I try to always have deliver gravel, he's not always available. He was able to fit me in twice, which he's usually booked 3 to 4 weeks out. So the first load he brought was this one. And then this morning he brought that one. So it's another hot day. Been shoveling, been working on it for a couple of hours already this morning. Let me flip this around. So we have everything pretty much done except for this corner, this little stretch here, which we're going to be bringing this over here to fill in this last bit. Now that I've compacted this corner, I can remove this set of brace and then we'll transfer it over here. I'll probably build up this a little bit more before I remove it though. That way I can take this one out and slide it to that corner, take this one, flip it around, put it in that corner. Then we'll get this corner built up and then we'll just have this little part right here in the front left. So I tried to take this pile and push it towards the back just because this pile is going to be easier to fill in this area than try to take that pile to the back. So I'll keep going. All right, well, that was just about a full day, probably a good 6 hours, 7 hours maybe, to get all this done, get everything compacted. So basically what I'm shooting for is, these are 2x12s, which is really 11.5. This is a 2x8, which is really 7.5. So that's going to give me about 4 inches variance, which is what I've tried to do this level to. So I ordered enough concrete that I could actually do a 5-inch slab. So I'm not being super particular about this being, you know, really level. I just want to make sure that it's pretty close to what the level of these braces were. And I went A lot of times I went just slightly below, but sometimes they were a little elevated. Like you can see, this one's up a little bit. So this one I went like an inch below. But yeah, that's pretty much it for that. I have a few things left to do, which one is going to be the rebar. That's going to be the last big thing. So tomorrow, that's what I'm going to be working on. I'm going to be stringing all the rebar in here, tying everything together. It's basically going to be 2 pieces of rebar that are going to go all the way around the entire footing. And then every 2 feet, there will be a cross piece that will be tied to it. Another thing that I have to do is I'm going to be putting in a box right here. I have to measure it out. Basically, this is the front wall. So there's going to be a 8 by 10 foot room right here. That's going to be my grinding room. So when I figure out where that wall is going to be, I need to put a box in the ground, and that's going to remain open. So the slab will get poured around it. And then later on, I'll pour a separate slab in there. That's going to be where my power hammer is going to go. So it'll be grinding room, power hammer, forge, press. Anvil will be, out here further. There's going to be a 8 by 10 room here. There will be an 8 by 10 room here. There's going to be a 2 foot space in between this room and this room here. And I'm thinking now, which I just thought of this today, I think I'm going to end up putting up a second level just over this part right here, like a 10 by 10 area that'll be a little office. So I'll probably have a set of stairs going up here, which will be kind of like a ladder set of stairs. They'll be kind of steep, but it'll be fine. It'll be a workbench here. This whole area will remain open because garage door is going to be here. Yeah. And then I have to go get plastic to cover this center section up. So that's it. Rebar, form frame for the power hammer, and plastic. So the plastic I'm going to wait until right before pour day to actually put that down. Just because if any rain comes, I just want it to be able to soak in. I don't want it to pool up or anything like that. But yeah, a lot of work today. And I'm going to have to clear this, flatten this pile down a little bit on this side so that the cement truck will be able to pull up here. So I'm glad I have plenty of extra gravel because I will need to, I'm going to add another course of bricks over here for the retaining wall bricks. So that'll bring it up another level. I'll need to backfill that with gravel. And then after this slab is poured, I'll tie in rebar to this slab and it'll go down into the retaining wall blocks. And then I will pour concrete here. So there will be a sidewalk here. And then there will be a regular door right here in this area. So yeah, coming together. Okay, today's rebar day. So I have the cutter bender here. Got my rebar over there. And I got the canopy set up because it's kind of raining a little bit. So I want to be able to keep working and get this finished. So basically what I'm going to be doing is grabbing the rebar, sliding it out here, putting it into the bender, and then what I'll do is I'll do a 90-degree bend, and then I'll just start working my way all the way around until I get the first row, and then I'll do the second row all the way around. So the rebar has to overlap 2 feet everywhere that it joins and then be tied together. And then the crossbars, which are the smaller, so there's 2 different size rebar here, number 3 and number 4. Number 4 is the main one that's going to be running the perimeter, and the number 3 is going to be the cross, which is, I believe it's 1/2 inch and 3/8, or it's 5/8 and 1/2 inch. I can't remember the sizes off the top of my head, but so that's what I'm going to be doing, starting to bend it and put it in here. All right, well that went fairly quick. So I have all my rebar in all the way around. I have a minimum of 2 foot overlap. Some of them, they're a little bit more than 2 feet. It's just the way that it worked out. So there's going to be an inner and an outer, approximately 10 inches apart. So you can, excuse me. Dang, just drank cold water and then breathing warm air. So you see where the corners go like that, and then there will be ties in here, and then there will be every 2 feet along here all the way around. So this went, like I said, fairly quickly, getting all this laid in. I ended up buying way more rebar. I don't know why I bought so much rebar. I thought I was going to need a lot more. I will end up using that though after the slab is poured for when I start doing the bricks, because I'll have vertical rebar going into the slab. I was going to have that tied in here, but I opted to just make the slab because it's much easier to do the slab if it's completely smooth. And then I will just drill and anchor the rebar into the slab when I start putting the bricks in. So now I have to cut the cross pieces, which is the smaller rebar here. So let me get to that. All right, so you saw that I made this little jig real quick so that I could cut all those to the same length. They're all 10 inches. Just screwed together some scrap pieces of 2x4 and 2x6 and, you know, made a nice little jig. So got through all those and I started doing the tie up. So you can see how this is going to be going together. Basically putting them in the corners to start, and then I'm working my way out, going every 2 feet all the way down. The 2 pieces that meet, they're tied together here, overlapping a minimum of 2 feet. So I will continue on this. The last step for this is putting in the chairs. These are called rebar chairs. And they basically look like that. So basically the rebar just sits in here. They come in different sizes, different styles. There's ones that actually clip on. Sometimes people will just use pieces of concrete block that have little grooves in them. These were the ones that I got, so that's what I'm going to use. So I'm going to start putting those in, setting this up. And basically when you're doing rebar like this, you want to make it so that no part of the rebar is exposed outside. So it needs to be completely encapsulated by the cement, because if it's sticking out somewhere, that rebar is going to start rusting, and then it will, over the years, it'll just, you know, rust all the way through if there's, you know, a hole or something somewhere where it's sticking out. So you want to basically just make sure that the rebar is completely submerged and encapsulated in the cement. Okay, got an early start this morning. Tried to get going on this before it got too hot. So the rebar is completely tied up now. Everything's on chairs. So this is done all the way around. And then I have 2 important things left to do. One is going to be placing the box here for my power hammer, which I have the pieces cut. I just got to put them together, and then I'll start digging this out and sink that in. And second is I need to run some piping underneath the form and space it. I'm going to have to put a couple bricks here so that I can get the spacing, because the piping is going to come up through the bricks. That's going to be for the conduit. I don't know why my phone is not focusing. That's going to be for the conduit that's running from the house. It's right there now, and then it's going to be running over to here, and then it's going to tie in here. So that's for eventually electrical. When I get the solar system installed, electrical is going to run from here to the house to hopefully power the house. There's also a ABS for water, which I'm just going to run PEX in because I want to have a water bib on the corner of the shop here. And then also a small electrical conduit for a data line so that I can have Wi-Fi out here. So here's my box setup for the form. This is roughly about 4 foot by 2.5, just over 2.5 feet. And I used pocket screws. as you can see right there, because once the slab is poured, I'm going to have to pull this apart from the inside, because the concrete's going to be all around this basically. So I put up a string line here, and this basically represents the inside wall of where this room is. So there's going to be an 8 by 10 foot room here, which is going to be the grinding room. So using that as a reference, the wall, and then where the footing is, I'm going to sink this in probably at a 45-degree angle, you know, from this 90. And then that's where the power hammer will go. So, of course, the power hammer is not this big. The foot plate of it will fit inside this space, and then the hammer itself is only, you know, maybe a foot to a foot and a half wide. And then it's, you know, 3 feet deep or 2.5 feet deep. So it's not going to fill up this entire space. This is just going to be for an isolated slab. And then over here, I did a mock-up. So basically I just attached some 2x4s and 4x4s, and I put the bricks about where they're going to be. I have my first piece of ABS in there, and it's basically going down underneath the form, coming out over here where this little fresh pile of gravel is. I have to go and get a couple other 90s for the electrical conduit. I thought that I had bought those, but I can't find them, so I'm gonna have to get some new ones. So there will be a 2-inch electrical conduit and a 1/2-inch electrical conduit going through this side. And basically I'm just spacing them out because they will be inside the bricks over here. So I'll have the 4-foot wall over here going all the way around to there. Where that stops, I'm basically going to have one course of bricks going all the way around the edge here, just so that I have a solid lip sealed, so I don't have to worry about any water or anything like that. And then the wooden framework will be, framing for the walls will be on top of that. So of course there will be a 90 here. It'll come out 1, maybe 2 bricks, garage door, brick wall, and then it's going to continue around. Yeah. Okay, so I have my string web set up, basically just several lines running back and forth across the top of the forms. And I'm pretty close right now. This corner here is just a little low, so I'll have to bring that up. That corner looks slightly high, and over here looks almost right on. This corner looks like it has to come up a little bit too. So I'll get this all leveled out so that it's just barely touching the strings, and then I'll repack all of this gravel in around it. All right, so that is done. I basically just filled up the inside just to keep it solid. So everything is done pretty much. I still got to get those couple of connectors there for that, but you'll just see it on the next video. I know this one is getting really long. Let me flip this around. Whee! Okay. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. I haven't looked at all the clips yet, but I think this video is gonna be pretty long. Everything is done as far as the prep for the slab. Concrete is getting delivered tomorrow, so that will be the next video. That one will probably be on the shorter side because it's basically just going to be the pour and finishing it and all that. So, yeah, this was a lot of work. I mean, and it's been happening for quite a long time. I mean, from my very first video, where Taylor was, you know, leveling out this pad a little bit, and then James coming in, you know, jackhammering the wall over here on this side to get that cleared up, building up the retaining wall. So yeah, this has been a long time coming, 6 months or more at least. And finally tomorrow is pour day. So yeah, I just want to say thank you guys as always for watching. Please subscribe. That will help out my channel a lot, and like it if you like the video. And I'll see you guys on the next one, hopefully with a fresh slab. Aloha.